God is watching you.
Beg your pardon?
He hears everything.
Alive, alive, alive. These are all creatures of God, ladies and gentlemen, not fans. They are authentic and they are alive. Alive, alive, alive. They wiggle and they dance. 6 beautiful girls. They wiggle and they dance. They wiggle and they dance.
Who will dare to face the challenge of the Funhouse? Who is brave enough? How about you, sir? Who is mad enough to enter that world of darkness? Terrified. Terrified. You will scream with terror. You will beg for release. But there will be no escape. For there is no release from the Funhouse.
You are listening to TMBDOS. They must be destroyed on sight. The following podcast may contain language and discussions of a frank and adult nature, and spoilers regarding the films discussed are always to be expected. Thank you for joining us. Now start the show, Dr. Rausch.
They must be destroyed on sight.
All right, we're back. We have the whole crew on tonight for episode 135 of They Must Be Destroyed on Sight. I'm your host, Lee. Alive. Russell. Joined by my co-host, Daniel. They wiggle and they dance. They wiggle and they dance. Harper, how you doing, sir?
I just paid $100 for a hand job and then ejaculated prematurely, which was very disappointing.
In a Frakenstein mask, too.
No. I was in a Dracula mask, to be completely fair. You know.
Oh, okay. And we're also joined by Paul. Oh, my. That is a gruesome sight. Ramali, how you doing, sir?
Pretty good. I got stuck in the Frankenstein mask that he did prematurely ejaculate in. And I got stuck.
I didn't mention that detail.
Yeah.
I did ejaculate into a mask.
Yeah.
I just
I
wasn't wearing it at the time.
Wait, so the mask on the monster in the film, that wasn't drool coming out of the mouth?
No, it wasn't drool. No.
Oh my God.
I got stuck between a rock and a hard sword in the Funhouse. Let's just say that.
Or a couple of gears, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Maybe squeal.
But we're going to be talking about the Funhouse from 1981. But before we get into that, we have a little bit of house cleaning. We have 2 comments on very old episodes of They Must Be Destroyed on Sight on YouTube. This one's kind of disturbing because this is from G. Zimmerman. So
okay, well,
yeah.
Did you see he's actually signing bags of Skittles at fan conventions?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
A fucking idiot. But yeah, this was on our episode 20, the Van, Malibu Beach, and Van Nuys Boulevard. So that was a while back. So honestly, this reference, I don't even remember making a reference to this that he's chastising us for, but he says, "You fucking nerds, quote, can't handle with a water bid in the back, unquote. It's drag racing, you idiots." So we must have said something about the sort of climatic or anticlimactic drag race in, I'm assuming, Van Nuys Boulevard. We must have made some reference about a waterbed.
I think I asked about the logistics of like how you drag race
with a waterbed in the back.
With a waterbed in the back.
It's the same thing as someone drag racing a BMW with a concrete slab in the back of the boot. Like how?
Well,
does that work?
it's even worse than that because it's
well, then the
if
water
it's liquid,
moves too.
it's like I think I did question something on that level. So I admit that I do not actually know how to drag race a van with a waterbed in the back. Maybe it's really not that complicated.
I know how to drag race, but I don't know. It'd be like drag. It'd be like the same thing as drag racing a car with a bunch of anchors dragging behind you, waiting to grab something, because all the weight of the waterbed would be shifting back, like what Daniel said. So it makes no sense.
I love the fact that he calls us nerds and then calls out some technical detail that we got wrong. I think that's hypothetically, we don't even know we got it wrong.
Yeah, wouldn't the nerd call that out more so than the people screwing it up?
You would think so, but
you would think so, yeah.
I mean, admittedly, we are nerds. I'm not saying we're not. I'm just saying maybe our commenter, maybe he needs to look in his own.
I was gonna say, is there a mirror he can look into at some point in time?
Yeah, maybe G Zimmerman. Maybe you just go fuck yourself because fuck you.
Yeah, and anybody who calls themselves George G Zimmerman, maybe their name actually is G Zimmerman, and that's really unfortunate. But I have a feeling that probably this is not a person we should be paying attention to, even to the degree we already have. So
fuck you. And moving on, this comment was on episode 47, where we did Jess Franco's "She Killed in Ecstasy" and "A Virgin Among the Living Dead." Someone called Crystal Man said, "I was expecting to actually watch the movie."
Why would you do that? Why in the hell would you do that?
People on YouTube, there is a description box. When people choose to use it, you should probably read what's in the description. Podcast. Not the movie itself.
On a more positive note, I showed the podcast to one of my friends, and he thought it was off the fucking hook and loves it.
Awesome. You have doubled our audience.
Yes.
Yes, and he is watching many of them, yes.
Excellent, thank you, and thank you to Paul's friend who likes the podcast. We'll try not to let you down, but eventually we probably will.
We
definitely
let
do.
everybody down.
We definitely do.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And hopefully you will leave us a YouTube comment when that happens, and we will read it on the air and then mock you mercilessly.
And make sure you call us nerds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, just leave us a positive YouTube comment.
For once.
Let's not have the stereotype of all YouTube commenters just being vile pieces of shit who don't know their fucking ass from a hole in the ground. Let's get some smart ones on there.
Yeah, besides
it's YouTube. I mean, I don't know if that's a little bit too much to ask.
I'm really being generous.
One reasonable human being.
We could go back
YouTube
to that
comments.
making fake accounts and commenting on our own shit again, but
Shut up.
Sorry.
We don't know anything about that,
So. No. So my co-hosts have nothing they really want to mention that they've watched lately. I'll just mention one thing briefly. Watched the new Nicolas Cage movie Mandy this week 5 fucking times because I like it that much.
You have been spewing about that on the Twitters.
Yeah. And I'm not going to go into detail here. I just did a guest spot on a podcast covering it. It's the Just the Movie podcast, I believe it is. I will link it in the show notes and on the Facebook group and all that shit when it comes out, so you guys can see my thoughts on there. I'm on there.
What format did you actually watch that on? Was it a RIP or was it a DVD or?
Well, it's in select theaters and it's on VOD. And I watched a Putlocker. It's basically just a direct rip from whatever VOD release there was.
Yeah,
so
I was looking for. I couldn't find it on DVD yet.
I'll give you the VOD link to Putlocker if you want that.
Nice.
I'm buying this movie.
Every time I see Nicolas Cage covered in blood, I'm buying it. Yeah, that's pretty much
This is a movie that this is directed by Panos Cosmatos, who did Beyond the Black Rainbow. That we covered in, I think, episode 2 of our podcast, something like that.
One of the very early, 2 or 3, something like that.
Was that with the one with all the? Trying to remember. You go through you guys were going through the tunnel, and all the people were there, and it was a very fucked up movie, and I think it was like episode 3, something like that. It was a pretty fucked up film.
The first one was Kill List. I think the second one was the first one was American Hustle.
American Hustle. That was our test episode.
Officially released calls. at the time, somebody didn't know how to record audio. But.
Exactly. Yeah. Me. Well, I knew how to record. It's just for some reason the recorder didn't want to record properly. So, but yeah, and I blame Skype on that, honestly.
Okay. Oh shit.
Yeah. Back when we used Skype, man, the early days.
Yeah, I don't know how anyone can fucking use Skype to do podcasts.
I still remember using VC, so that's pretty fucked up.
I think I'd rather fucking podcast on ICQ or something like that than fucking Skype. Jesus. But yeah, so I like I said, I'll link that in the show notes.
Actually, we can go back to just a really quick one of your first episodes, which I was jealous of not being a part of, was Ravenous.
Right.
Because I just showed that to my friend who loves the podcast, and he just messaged me really briefly. He said it was absolutely fucking amazing, and I agree with that. Absolutely. So
is your friend generally on drugs? Is this what?
No. Well, yes.
Yeah.
So the question I have is: did you show him the movie or did you show him the podcast? Because,
I think I showed him both, and he was elated with joy on both.
Fair enough. Well, yeah.
So,
we have any faith?
I mean, that does prove the drug, and thing, so.
One of these days we'll crack the elusive 10 constant listeners, and then we'll...
Well, then you're just going to explode after that.
Yeah, I mean, fucking look at...
One day we're going to have a listener that we don't know personally, and that's...
Yeah, we'll have a listener that we didn't have sex with at some point in time. We'll be fine.
We didn't get favors too,
Yeah. I sucked that guy off to watch this shit.
So, yeah, we're going to take a quick break. We'll play some music and a little bit of podcast promo love, and then we'll be back with the Funhouse.
You ungodly warlock.
Hello, and welcome to Hello, This is the Doom Show. I'm Richard.
And I hate the burning.
Sheesh, who are you? Speak.
And I'm Brad.
She came in and said, "Buck, buck, buck," and he said, "Buck, buck, buck," and she said, "Buck, buck, buck, buck." That's what I got.
One is the Suspiria boner, the other's the Inferno boner. Anyway.
Which one is crying? The boner of tears.
Hello, This is the Doomed Show is available on hellodoomedshow.podomatic.com and doomedmoviethon.com.
Hello, this is the Doom Show. Richard, Brad, Jeffrey, Nafa. It's the Doom Show. Hello, this is the Doom Show. Slashers, giallo, and horror.
You ungodly warlock.
All right, the Funhouse.
Who will dare to face the challenge of the Funhouse? Who is mad enough to enter that world of darkness?
I just had the greatest idea.
Let's spend the night.
In
the Funhouse.
This better be good.
It's gonna be great.
They paid to get in and prayed to get out.
Steel doors and a chain on it. Whoa.
I'm really scared, Richie.
It's okay.
Something is alive in the Funhouse.
Oh, listen, I don't know what that thing is. But we're gonna be a lot safer if we just stay together.
Something deadly. Something deathly. Something evil. Something is turning the Funhouse into a house of horror. A house of terror.
Directed by Tobe Hooper, written by Lawrence Block, starring Elizabeth Berridge as Amy Harper, Cooper Huckabee as Buzz, Largo Woodruff as Liz, Miles Chaplin as Richie, the amazing Kevin Conway as the Freak Show Barker of the Strip Show, and a couple of other things, including the Funhouse. Wayne Doba.
He plays all the Barkers.
Yeah, most of them anyway. Wayne Doba as the Monster, Sylvia Miles as Madame Xena, and William Finley as Marco the Magnificent, Sean Carson as Joey Harper, Rebuka Hoyle as Strip Show Dancer, and Jack McDermott and Janine Austin as Mr. and Mrs. Paul and Ellen Harper, respectively. Do have a quick little synopsis here, and this is one of these perfect little IMDb synopses that could have been written for TV Guide, and it may have just been pulled from an old TV Guide. Who knows? Two young couples on a double date go to a mysterious carnival. As a prank, they decide to spend the night in the funhouse. When they witness a brutal murder, they suddenly find themselves in horrific danger. From Sean V. Taylor. And there you go.
It actually sums it up perfectly, though.
Yeah, it's a nice little synopsis.
And I miss TV Guide. I don't know about you guys, but I miss that thing.
I wonder, like, when the last issue of TV Guide was published. Does TV Guide still exist?
I don't think so.
Is it possible that you can still get paper copies of TV Guide?
My parents collected them at some point in time. We had
it was definitely like they were trying to like aim at that. Like it should be like this collectible thing. Like you have like a whole.
It is. I see them.
TV Guides. Yeah.
I see them in flea markets to this day.
Yeah,
people sell the fucking TV Guides. Like,
it's
that, you know, there's a niche collector nerd thing for everything, you know.
Yeah. Well, I love in the movie. You see the TV Guide. You see how the label's kind of peeling off. You're tempted to rip it off, but don't. It'll just spoil the cover. Lost Boys. I just
just the thought of people preserving the covers of TV Guide, which was printed on shitty stock paper. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
I love it though. It's great. And we used to thumb through that shit to see what's going on though. I mean, this was where we were at that time. If you talk to people that were born in the 90s, they will not believe you.
This was back in the days when you couldn't just Google and and see what
stream when this was going on.
This was where you could find out what movies were going to be on, so you could watch it.
I gotta think TV Guide, if it exists in any format, it'd be online now, because it would be impossible to physically publish that guide the way TV is structured now, right?
Yeah,
because that's true.
Because everyone now, even though it's still vastly imperfect and they're just ripping you off, basically, people who buy cable packages, they're buying certain packages, so TV Guide would have to be geared to different regions of the country. Mm-hmm. You know, you'd have to send out several different incarnations of the fucking.
Well, I mean, the Wall Street Journal is not no longer printed, right? It's internet only.
I'm
now,
pretty
right?
sure. I think the Wall Street Journal is still. Actually, I do. I'm being slightly disingenuous. I know that there's still, at least 10 years ago when I started magazines, there existed a TV Guide magazine. Like they had moved away from the channel listings and just gave you like kind of a big glossy magazine.
What's on TV at some point in time?
Well, it's just like basically, if you only read it for the articles, that was
right. Exactly. It's Playboy of the TV world.
Exactly.
I just read the articles.
I bet you there's some small regions in Appalachia that still get like a local TV guide in the paper or whatever.
I'm pretty in the small regions in Appalachia. I haven't seen it yet, so let me travel around.
Well, you're even more way off the fucking road than most of the fucking Deliverance style hillbillies.
You're too far out to get the TV guide.
That's true. That's it. That's right. Well,
you've got to be a very precise distance from civilization in order to get the TV guide.
I'm too far away. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Huh. Okay, so we are covering a movie tonight.
I like a little bit of banter in my podcast. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but I assume this is the first time you watched this film, Daniel. So I'll just throw it over to you. What your sort of general thoughts are on it?
I like this. It feels very VHS era to me. Ridiculously VHS. This was my first watch of it. I watched it yesterday. I really like the kind of rundown nature of the Funhouse. I like the fact that it feels like kind of a real place, and that we spend roughly 45 minutes there, just kind of hanging around and just with the kids, like, playing the games and doing stuff. And, I have been to carnivals that look like that, like as a kid in the 80s and early 90s. And then it kind of transitions into this really kind of horrific character stuff between these relatives, the freak show Barker and the Frankenstein mask guy. I don't know the names of these people. The monster.
It's basically Gunther, the Barker and Gunther. Yeah,
the Barker and Gunther. Yeah, I really liked some of the scenes between them. I liked the kind of almost. There is a certain psychological horror to this. It actually does sort of try to give you some characterization, and then you get some kind of cool kills, a little bit of like slasher movie stuff at the end. And so it's kind of, there's a little bit of a sense of it's three movies in one to a degree. Although it's really it's definitely a bifurcated structure, but both parts were good, and I enjoyed both halves. It was a pretty painless experience, honestly. Some of these things are kind of like, well, I guess the thing is, it would be really easy for that first half where they really are just kind of wandering around the carnival to be like, okay, let's just get to the good stuff now. But I actually really enjoyed that stuff, and I wasn't expecting to. I thought it was really quite well done and lived in, and I liked all the characters. You kind of get a sense of like kind of who they were, and it was nice.
Paul, first time you saw this, and what are your sort of general thoughts on it?
I probably saw this the first time when I was about 8, and I've seen a couple different times. I have a lot to say about it, but I don't know how much I have to say about it at the same time. I'm a fan of the film for what it is, and the more I know about it, the more I appreciate it. But to me, it's kind of a base bones dry film. It has a Halloween opening. It kind of gets into that TMC or TCM rather kind of vibe with the retardation and stuff like that. And then it just tries to be a cutthroat slasher at the end, and it's kind of plain Jane. And it's a simple watch for anybody who wants to get into the style. But as far as that, once you're actually emaciated into the style, not emaciated is not the right word.
Integrated.
Or integrated and immersed into the style.
Yeah.
It's pretty dry.
All right. First time I saw this is a film I've seen for many, many years, over and over again. I think the first time I saw this, like a lot of horror stuff that sort of informed my upbringing, it was on A&E. This played on A&E all the time. I love that it starts off with sly little Psycho and Halloween nod right at the beginning, the opening scene. And then it gives you like pure, nice, innocent final girl, but it does it a bit modern style, trying to match a little bit the slasher films of the time. So you get a tit shot right in the beginning, right? And you get a perverted little brother who is well on his way to becoming the ginger rapist from the van, basically.
Oh yeah, he's definitely
wants to double date with two girls, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I love that by 1980 they're already doing slasher movie parody fake scares, which is just amazing. But
that shows you how many movies came out within that 3-year period or so between Halloween.
They pumped the fuckers out.
And I mean, honestly, the genre really did kind of peter out even before like 1985. It kind of died.
I was gonna say the death was 5.
Yeah,
it kind of only the true ones stood the test of time after that. Then you see the resurgence of sci-fi horror after that.
Right. We have Fly and stuff like that. What I like about this is that you're right, Daniel. The first half of this film, this could have been excruciatingly boring if these were just really total simple stock characters that you didn't give a shit about. Like if these were the typical like Friday the 13th teenagers that you just want to see get killed, it would really suck. But you get, they're generally likable teens. They're a little mischievous. The guy with the glasses, he's a bit of a dick. But otherwise, you got the virginal girl, you got a little bit more exciting girl, and then you got the handsome stud guy who is actually like a really decent guy. He's not, some rapist in disguise kind of dude. And I like that it really sort of draws you into this carnival, and it makes you weary of the carnival because you get all these sort of premonitions of things that are going to happen later, and there's just slightly disturbing things creeping around the corner of the carnival. Like it really does, like you said, Paul, takes the sort of griminess of TCM. It's kind of like a trademark of Tobe Hooper. Like I can't think of anyone else who would been more perfect for directing a film like this, because he basically built an entire carnival, and he's got 2 fucking amazing crane shots in this movie to show off, hey, look at this fucking carnival I built, this. And so it looks so authentic, it looks so good, and it's a real throwback. I mean, we were talking before we started the podcast, Paul and I, about how this is a Universal Pictures film, and so you get all these classic monster stuff. Like you get a poster of the Wolfman, you got the Frankenstein monster mask later, you got Bride of Frankenstein on the TV at one point. This carnival feels like a throwback to an era that doesn't exist anymore in the 1980s. Like it's kind of like just a last little bastion of this, and it's like these middle class kids in their safe little world with middle class parents, and they got security and safety. They walk into this totally different world, and it's just like a clash of those two things.
Right. They filmed it in Florida for a reason, because that's where all the carnivals used to go for hiatus during the winter months and stuff. So they went there to shoot that. They had a crane there that was used as a filming once, and they only used the crane once. It was like a 100-foot crane with a 150-foot boom attachment, and they used it twice in the film. But before that, it was only ever used once for a film, and it sat there for decades not being used. So they fire this thing up. Let's give this a go. So they used it twice, and the cinematographer, after they got done using it, goes, I want to use this on every film I ever shoot for the rest of my life.
It's a really high crane shot. Like it's higher than what you usually see, and it gets a really good shot of the entire thing. And I mean, they built the entire thing from the ground up. It's authentic. Yeah, I would argue that the Funhouse is almost impossibly big. For it seems like it has 4 or 5 stories in it.
They actually hired their own carnival from the workers to build the sets for everything. It was an actual carnival set for everything they used. It was a carnival set.
That's what makes it feel authentic. Like I thought it was a real carnival, honestly.
Yeah,
exactly. I was just watching it. I have stood in a place that looked very similar to that. I mean, not for 30 years, but like when I was a kid, I've been to a couple of these where it's and it looks all grimy, and there's popcorn all over the floor everywhere, and they're drunk teenagers making out, and and carnies that look like they're like 2 teeth short of a full set, or I don't have a joke there, but you know what I mean. It's it feels very that feels like a place.
I told Lee about a scene where the guys, when you see in the beginning, they're all trying to get high behind the tent there, and they keep trying to light the lighter and get it high. Well, he shot that not knowing too much about what's going on around him, because he was trying to focus on that shot so much. It took him 8 tries to get that shot down. Meanwhile, to the direct left of him was the Cobra ride, where it spun around, and then there was little seats that spun around inside themselves. Had
Was
extras
it
in there.
was it Cobra or Octopus? Something along those lines.
It was an octopus style, but it was called Cobra. It was an
Okay.
octopus ride, but the ride was called Cobra. And it was spinning around, and the seats were spinning around for about 40 minutes, and he didn't realize this because he was trying to get this shot. He looked over after someone actually told him to look over, and it looked like there was a water kind of spraying kind of coming out, and it was all the extras vomiting. And they had to shut down the ride and call ambulances in to take care of all the extras that were completely disgustingly sick. They couldn't walk. They couldn't do it. They couldn't even move them out of their chairs for like 20 minutes because of how disorientated they were.
Yeah. So yeah, I was joking to Paul. It was basically Problem Child 2 in reality. It was that scene.
Just turn it up, and let it ride.
But what I like about this is, although it does sort of turn into a slasher movie at the end, it's not excessively bloody. Like, basically what Hooper's doing here is he's really just making a monster movie. Because here's something I did with this when I was watching it today. I was thinking about it, and this is a really nerdy thing to do. So yeah, I'm a geek.
We're gonna get a YouTube comment for sure.
Yeah,
nerd.
What I did is I turned the color off on my TV while I was watching this, and man, it comes off like a movie from the 60s when you do that. Like, there's very little that sort of separates it from a movie in the 60s. Just
it's
a little
actually
bit of
very interesting that you do that, because if you actually watch this film, the color, because they do vibrant colors through the film, that horror landscape, it's actually very distracting.
It's very EC Comics color, kind of thing.
So yeah, it's very interesting that you did that and watch it that way.
I just wanted to see it that way because mostly, and here's maybe one criticism I have of the film: when we eventually see the monster, we see him a little too much, and it is. And I mean, I like the rubber mask and the rubber hands, but after a while, you start to maybe notice it a little too much. And yeah, it works really well when you turn the color off.
I always thought I like the scene. I like the fact. I think Kevin makes the film just so much better. I think really Kevin does. But when you really see, I think his name was Wayne. He was a mime expert.
Yeah, he was a mime. Yeah.
It was just too soon. It was too soon. It was a full frontal boom. There's the monster, and after that, I don't know. I lost it. I just thought it was too soon. I just thought
you go a little bit early. I kind of expected him to just wear the mask the entire time.
Yeah,
right.
You know, I was just kind of on the. Yeah, he's just some weird guy who's just wearing the. You know.
Yeah.
You know,
because he's not especially big or anything either.
It's almost a disappointment when you see,
you
know, when you see, there's some monster on the inside of a mask or whatever. You know,
I thought
it would maintain the mystery.
I thought it would be at the end more son of like, holy shit, look at this motherfucker.
You get one really good look at it just as he's like being stabbed in the eye or something, and then that's
at the decease of what that monster really was. There's a monster inside the monster, but the monster that controls him is ultimately human. That kind of mindset. That like the true Frankenstein monster would be the monster itself was the monster, the human that caused him was the real monster. Yeah, and he's just a prodigy of the monster itself.
That story thread really does sort of exist in this, though. I mean,
yes, it does. It does.
Because when you think about it, the quote unquote monster in this film, he's very much like Leatherface. Like this really goes back to Leatherface in a lot of ways.
That's why I say there's a lot of TCM in this film.
Yeah, because he's really just a kind of. He doesn't have the mental capacity to know right from wrong.
I'll give it a little bit better credit than that. It's TCM, but I also think it's like Of Mice and Men.
Yeah.
George, he doesn't know how strong he is. He doesn't understand his emotions, and he kills a lot of girls because he grabs a hold of the thing he likes. And which way did he go, George? Squeeze, squeeze. You know what I mean? Like the whole deal.
I don't know that I'm quite willing to treat the treatment of Madame Zinna here with that level of sympathy.
Yeah, that's a little different.
But at the same time, I mean
that seemed like rage. But
the thing is, I think I do get a little bit of that Of Mice and Men from him, though. I understand the suppressed monster. I got a little bit of The Burning out of that at the same time. 1981, I got a little bit of that out of that. But I also got 3 on the Meat Hook. 2 out of that too at the same time, because you remember 3 on the Meat Hook it's like, no, I can handle it now. You know, that's what you told me last time, right before we buried your mom. You know, that kind of deal, like where unsuppressed rage, the whole deal. So I got a lot of films out of this film, though. I mean, I'm not discrediting this film. I got a lot of films out of this film, vibes and nuances.
Kevin Conway's performance here, like I think it's the best
really
performance
like
in
that.
the film.
I think absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, and I love how, again, it sort of goes back to TCM, because there's that idea, although, you know, he's not a good guy, but family, you know, blood is blood. He says that in the film.
I get
the
I get the cook out of him a lot.
Yeah, it's a little less, you know, a little less crazy though. Like
a little less, yeah. No,
yeah,
he's a little bit more founded on that, but I do appreciate his role makes this film for me something.
Yeah, because he obviously cares about this son of his who
it's obviously his son, even though he won't say it.
Did you pick up that the fetus in the jar was the brother?
His brother? Yep. Mm-hmm. Leon is his brother, because he says about his brother being on display. And here's the weird thing: Tobe Hooper references the split-faced, the cleft-hoof cow as the mom, and I'm like, I don't get that because of science, but.
Does he reference it as the mom? I don't think so.
He in the documentary that I showed you.
Oh yeah.
That I just he's like, I'm trying to say that that's the mom, but I was like, but you can't do that because never mind.
Okay, maybe he was.
He was trying to reference that, and I was like, no,
because I don't know if I buy that, but I do buy that he sets up several things that sort of foreshadow later in the film. Like when you see and these were actual cows with like two heads. And
he actually called out, and then they were bringing them.
That foreshadows the monster, so it makes it a little bit more like, I could buy that this exists in this world.
It was I didn't know this, I had no idea, but Rick Baker from the fame of American Werewolf in London did the makeup for the mask, I believe, and for the brother.
Yeah,
and I didn't know that when I watched it, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I like the terrible magician that they.
No,
see.
I love that guy. He's one of the best parts of the film.
Marco the Magnificent, who looks like.
And here's the Impaler.
He looks like Ray Manzarek of the Doors if he fell in hard times, you know.
It's more that like just low rent stuff, you know. It just feels like, you know, everybody knows this is horse shit. Everybody's kind of having a good time anyway, and it's fine. Yeah,
he thought he was in an H.G. Lewis audition, so he came dressed as the Wizard of Gore, and it just didn't happen. So, but at the same time, like, I love that piece. I thought that was great. Are you comfortable? No, good. And I was like, it's so good. Like, I love that.
It's such like great like stage pattern, because regardless of what she answers to, fine.
I wish they would have just lingered on the fact that she was dead just a little bit longer before he opened up the cabinet, because I really like that spot.
Yeah, it was good, and I like that they, you know. Again, it gives you a good half hour to 40 minutes or something of the actual carnival before we even really get into the actual horror of it, you know. So
I feel like there's a version of Dazed and Confused that's just kids hanging around a carnival, you know. Like, I don't know, I was kind of really getting that vibe, especially since they're kind of smoking weed, they're hanging out, they're having sex. You know, apparently this is what you do if you're a 20-something teenager. You and your buddy and your two girlfriends just go and have sex 8 feet apart.
Yeah, in the carnival. Yeah, they you know, they like to, you know, every once in a while peek over and see what my buddy's doing.
Well, he's way bigger than me. Okay.
Again, I really like the build up to this film. That's one of the things I like the most about this is the creepiness of the animatronics, especially when the actual Funhouse powers down. And they all just kind of die. It's like, and then.
Well, that's the really cool thing about the animatronics that I didn't know when I first watched it is he actually went to this 95-year-old woman who built all these by hand.
Oh, really?
They weren't actually carnival sideshows. They were built for like the World's Fair. the first World's Fair that my great grandmother went to. He bought all these from this 95-year-old woman because he actually bought them all. He rented them at first, and after he watched them, he bought every single one of them. And they're actually like weird little fucking animatronics that he hooked up that she built from scratch.
Well, and it's funny because it makes the Funhouse kind of a character in its own, because every once in a while they come back to life. Like they're observing them and mocking them.
The Winston Churchill that was mocking, that laughing when the guy got killed, and that clown that kind of carries the dead body out and stuff. It's so creepy and awesome.
Yeah. When she finally gets out of the house, gets out of the Funhouse, and then there's
lady.
that big fat lady. It's not over till the fat lady sings, and there she is going, ha, 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 ha,
yeah. And it even scared that boy that time where it started moving when he was looking at it, even though it's not supposed to, and he ran away. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Joey, was his name Joey? That small, and he just seemed like some weird ass thing to shoot for no reason.
Well, I kind of like how he kind of represents, that sort of Ray Bradbury-ish innocent kid in a way.
Innocent youth? Yeah, innocent youth.
And then he gets it destroyed here because even walking to the carnival, he gets spooked by a dog and a crazy redneck. And then he gets to the carnival, and then all these horrible things happen, and he knows something's happening to his sister and her friends.
It's Tobe Hooper going, "You like horror movies, kid? You're not after this.
Not after this.
Yeah.
You want to see your girl in the shower? No. We got something for you. You'll like it. It's good. You can give me $2 now."
You guys are right. Kevin Conway is clearly the best performance in the film.
Actually, he just won before he did this film, he won a Tony Award for something, but I don't know what.
But yeah, he requested that if he was going to be on this film, he wanted to do all three of the Barkers.
Yeah, that's right.
And that just adds to the creepiness of it. It gives you in the back of your mind disturbing possibilities. Is there actually like three of them? Is it like some sort of weird family, inbred family, or like just the idea of seeing doubles anyway in horror? Like that's one of those sort of horror tropes. See weird doubling of people and stuff like that, doppelgangers and the like. Then also you get sort of slight hints in the film of something supernatural going on, and specifically with the main girl, how maybe she has some sort of precognition abilities of some sort.
Yeah, they were doing the thing with Xena, the thing, and she was like, "Oh, you see this and you see that." And then, of course, the guys, we'll get the fuck out of here. I'll break every bone in your body. And them being assholes. Then she gets killed after being, the hooker, too. I actually like that scene. I like any scene with fucking someone getting murdered. But at the same time, I like her scene. I really do like Kevin talking to the monster a lot about, just like, I didn't mean to hurt you. I just get a little drunk.
Boy.
It's when I drink, I just don't know not to, I forget.
God is my witness. I don't hate the sound of your...
Because he yells at him, you know what I mean? And it makes him upset. But, I love you and the whole deal, and that's the way it is. I'll take you fishing. Don't worry. You just have to do this one bad thing. But at the same time, you can tell that Kevin is cursed because he loves this person. Because he could have turned him in at any point in time.
Yeah, or he could have
in Dallas or killed it at birth, or in Dallas or in Memphis and all that stuff. So it's a very interesting format going on there. I like that quite a bit. I actually see Kevin's performance because later in the year, the Canadian, because I found out first I thought everything was American that was on American TV because I was a kid. But I found out it was a Canadian. It was Are You Afraid of the Dark? And then the Zebo episode where Laughing in the Dark. It's the most fun in the park when you're laughing in the dark. And I was like, that's Kevin right there, Kevin Conway. It just reminded me of Kevin's performance in Funhouse again. And I thought, I was like, oh, it's so awesome.
See the two-headed cow. See the sheep with 6 legs. They're all in here, and they're all alive. And I love how the Barkers, they all... again, it sort of speaks to that weird, maybe sort of psychic connection thing where every one of those Barkers played by him, they look at the main girl after they're saying their lines, like they see her and they pick her out in the crowd and look at her.
Yeah, it's the most fun in the park when you're laughing in the dark. It's the same thing. And you're stuck in the Funhouse.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's so good. I like it, but I think it's an underwhelming finish. I hate to be a bastard. It's an underwhelming finish. And the one thing that we haven't talked about, I understand that the mobsters, the teamsters, the coke runners, they ruined half the film by throwing it in the ocean. That's something that most people don't know. Something I didn't know when I first watched it. I get that now. I get to see it. Even Tobe Hooper was talking about, some of these amazing scenes where there was a lot of emotion going on. I could never get those people in that scene again.
Paul was telling me before the podcast, and there's only a little mention of it in the actual IMDb trivia and such. But this movie was shot during a sort of Teamster war on film productions. So they lost a bunch of the footage and they had to do reshoots and all that. So
This film exists today because one of the guys didn't know he wasn't supposed to put it on the plane to LA. So when he put it on the plane to LA, he got killed afterwards. So
is that the one you said got poisoned, or
no? That was the actual transportation manager of the place. He came out. Tobe Hooper says he came out of his office one day and saw this dark figure dart around the building real quick, like he was standing there and darted around. And as soon as he walked out and saw that man dart out, the transportation manager of that facility came walking out with foam coming out of his mouth and fell to the ground dead. He had to call the cops. He got poisoned, and that stopped shooting for about 4 fucking days. And before that, he was doing editing in his suite there at the studio, and bullets rained all the way up the fucking trailer and blew out all the windows. And he was probably so fucking strung out of that coke on time. I'm pretty sure that's when he found out his love of coke. He just said, "Oh, I don't have time for that shit," and just kept fucking putting his head down and keep on fucking editing. So there's a lot of shit going on during the film, the making of this film, that I can understand the gaps that I see at watching it. It must have been a hell of a time making this film.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I don't find that this film really suffers from the production problems, honestly. In my opinion, I think it works really well. This movie worked on me back in the day, especially just the animatronic shit, the final shot of the fat laughing lady.
No, I understand that. I definitely do that.
I see where Paul's coming from, in that it feels like a little movie. It doesn't have a ton of gore. And I was expecting, kind of we're going to get to the halfway point, and then suddenly it's going to be just straight up
it's going to go down for a while.
Yeah. That was kind of where I thought this was going. And I wasn't not up for that, but it was kind of nice that no, it's actually kind of a little movie that are really only a handful of characters that really matter. Maybe it would. Maybe there's a sense of sort of dissatisfaction just in that it does just kind of, once you get to the kills, it does just kind of go through the motions a little bit, and you just kind of boom. I wish this hadn't been that kind of movie ultimately.
Right. I agree too.
I wish we had spent more time with a more psychological horror, like the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where you get this, we're going to capture you, you're going to be carnies with us now, or something. You've seen too much, and we're going to chain you to the radiator, or something.
I thought that when I first watched it, I thought that was what they were going to do with Joey, kind of push him through in a cage and make his fucking family fight for him the whole time he's trying to find that girl, and just make it a little bit more. But things just kind of just proceeded nice and smoothly, and I was like, okay, what? And even at the end, he bashes him in the head a bunch of time with a crowbar. The guy takes the crowbar, puts it in the fucking thing. He gets hooked and just takes it into the thing. Okay, at the end. Really? Okay, no, it's. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's neat and dry, and everybody dies at the end that's supposed to. Granted, that's cool, but it just seems like there should have been a little bit more.
I can see that, but I do really love what is on screen.
Yeah, I don't think the film really suffers for it. It's just kind of
the only problem that I've ever had is I always called it Funhouse, and I never called it the Funhouse. So that's on me. That's on me.
You fucked up.
I fucked up.
The Funhouse, because it's where you go to get a hand job from a woman named Madame Woman.
Yeah, Madame Xena.
Xena is
and I like the fact that he said $100. Oh, you never understood the cost of $1, the price of $1. But I like the fact that he said I could have got one of those locals to do it for $15, and I was like, in 1981, $15 was still a lot of money.
Yeah, like $100. He's basically giving her like $1,000 for a hand job. It's like,
and the thing is, I was like, $15. I'm pretty sure in 1981, my mom would have did it for $5. It's like, it's like you're still getting fucking Jewed a little bit there, buddy. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I would do it for $5 now. So
yeah, exactly. Because my hand's not gonna get pregnant, so I don't give a fuck. $5 is $5.
$5, and I get some free semen out of it. So
yeah, that's protein.
So we don't have a budget on this, and I assume the budget was never released because of the reshoots and all that shit. Like they probably just.
I know. He told the only thing that I could say is he was talking about budget shooting, and he said, and I remember him saying to some production guy, he said, Texas Chainsaw was $60,000 a day, and we always went over budget. So I don't know what that would in turn to what we needed to be.
Everything I've read kind of says that this was definitely, of course, more than Texas Chainsaw, but still relatively low budget for the time. Like this is where big studios were starting to do like, hey, we can get these horror movies, these slasher films and stuff, and we can churn them out for relatively low budgets and get big returns, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking it's not more than a couple million, probably.
I could see 100,000 a day for how many days they shot. If 60,000 wasn't enough for Texas, I think 100,000 would probably be where we're looking at. So I don't know how many days of production they had, but I think you'd be okay with about it saying about a little bit over $1 million would probably be correct.
But domestic box office alone was 7.8 million. So
holy shit! So it did pretty fucking good then.
Yeah. DVD info for this. There's an old Universal Pictures DVD from 2004, which is an update of like a 1999 DVD that apparently sucks ass. But you can also get the Scream Factory 2012 DVD or Blu-ray, which is excellent. It's got really good extra features on it. It's got a commentary from Tobe Hooper, which is always good. He does good commentaries. He's one of the most laid-back fucking directors I've ever heard.
He seems very, very chill.
Yeah, he's done a lot of drugs in his life.
Yes, he has.
As far as a few little trivia points here, Steven Spielberg asked Hooper to direct E.T. the Extraterrestrial, but he turned it down because he was busy with this movie. So,
yeah,
maybe not the best choice.
Yeah,
but
he's still rich though. And I don't know, was it Gary something or other who wrote Alien? That was also he wrote this film. Who there was a person who wrote Alien, or some kind of person that was involved with writing or directing Alien that was involved with this film.
Well, no, Lawrence Block wrote this, and Dean Koontz did like the novelization of this, which wildly fucking goes off the rails with Satanism and how the Carney was trying to get the Antichrist born and all this other weird shit.
That sounds fun.
He Dean Koontz it up, is what you're saying?
Yes, basically it. Like I have the trivia here. He says Koontz wrote the novelization of the screenplay under pseudonym Owen West. The book contains a lot of backstory added by Koontz because of this. The fact that the book was released before the movie.
Exactly.
It was delay in post-production, and it's often mistaken that the movie is based on the book, but the book is in fact based on
the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of mishaps on this set. Paul illuminated us with a few of them. A couple more. Tobe Hooper was bit by a brown recluse spider during shooting. Toby was almost killed by a flying cog from one of the machinery, but an extra actually got in the way, and their arm was broken, deflecting this cog, apparently.
Jesus Christ.
So Tobe Hooper was almost killed filming this.
Thank the gods for extras.
Yeah, they were joking on the commentary. The other guy talking with Toby is like, "Oh, so extras are actually good for something," or. And Toby's like, "Now, come on now."
Oh, come on now. We all know they're not. It's fine.
Yeah. Some of the props in Joey's bedroom, like he's got the sort of monster kid bedroom, like precursor to Corey Feldman in Friday the 13th 4.
Right.
Sort of kind of thing. Same kind of kid who likes monster masks and all that shit. The props, some of them were owned by Sherry Lewis of Lamb Chop fame.
Ah, Lamb Chop play along. Nice.
Yeah. Obviously not the knives and the spiders and stuff, but some of them were.
But the masks and stuff.
Yeah.
I like to think that she was like a real like horror aficionado. Like
I think she probably was.
Like she was writing for Fangoria under a pen name or something. You know.
She had the rubber knife and she was stabbing lamb chop with it behind the scenes all these years. It's the only way I can do this shit. I have to kill lamb chop every night.
Well, I met Julia Adams from Creature of Black Lagoon, and she seemed very versed in a lot of weird shit.
Oh yeah,
yeah. She was a very nice woman too.
Well, I mean,
those two things usually go together, you know.
Yeah, she almost had sex with a fish man. What are you gonna?
There you go.
What do you expect?
Yeah, Cthulhu.
Yeah,
Elizabeth Barrage was also the cop in the John Larroquette show, if you remember that.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I found that out just checking out the IMDb page or the Wikipedia pages, and I'm like, holy shit! Like
there you go.
Like a character I remember 25 years later.
I like her a lot in this too.
Yeah.
I think she's.
I was gonna say I think Kevin Conway is the best performance, but she's very, very good.
I think she's ugly enough to be cute at the same time.
I wouldn't say that.
She's
no. She is adorable.
She is absolutely.
She looks like a troll doll.
Okay. Well, we'll agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah, we're definitely.
I said she's cute.
I mean, I don't say this often, Paul, but you were objectively wrong. You were objectively wrong about that opinion.
Actually, you say that to me all the time. What are you
I do say that all the time. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So next episode after this is actually I'm recording it tomorrow night with Duncan McLeish from the podcast Under the Stairs. That's going to be Dead and Buried. And then after that, I don't know what's coming up on the podcast. I'm hoping to finally get Brass Tacks down for the Blind Dead series and get that out of the way. And that'll be
we need more vampires. We have not done vampires.
I will definitely be available the second week of October for whatever you feel Friday night needs, my friend.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what my schedule's like and all that shit. But that's what's coming up in the future anyway. Dead and Buried.
Hand jobs of men in Frankenstein masks.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
I'll be you be the pitcher and I'll be the catcher.
Yeah, there'll always be hand jobs on this show. Yeah. I mean, that's never going to stop.
I like the fact that tradition is important, and I kept it up with this episode by not watching it again before this podcast. So thank you very much, folks.
Hey, it's always worked out for you, so I mean,
it's always traditional should never be broken.
Yeah, Daniel.
Unlike a hymen.
Yeah. Where can people find you, Daniel, on the internet?
You can find me and everything I do on Twitter at Daniel Lee Harper.
Excellent, Paul. Where can people find you and your hymen?
On the YouTubes and Twitters at PA Brew News, and now at Instagram of oil paintings by P. Ramaley.
Hold on, you joined Instagram in 2018.
Someone made me do it.
Hey, I joined Instagram in 2018 as well. So
wow,
yeah.
A very attractive 22-year-old convinced me, and I said, "Yes, ma'am."
Yeah, that's fair.
Yes.
Was it a real 22-year-old or was it one of those Instagram bots? Because I get a lot of posts.
I'm not sure yet. I haven't figured her bot yet. So
it's her name Eliza, because if so,
no.
Because I get hey, I'm really horny right now, but I can't stay online here. Would you go to this link really quick because my phone's dying? It's like, oh, okay.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Also, I am a Nigerian prince, and
I'm in.
I'm surprised they haven't done like I'm a hot Nigerian princess who needs your help, and I'm this Nubian goddess who needs your help.
And have I told you the truth about QAnon?
Oh no!
So you can find us at tmbdos.podbean.com, where you can find our Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Facebook links. Go to the Facebook group. They must be destroyed on site on Facebook, where you can find all of our information, what's coming up on the podcast, and you can bullshit with the regulars on there who every once in a while link something interesting and talk some movies and shit. So it's all good fun. No assholes on the group. So it's one of the few Facebook groups out there that doesn't have assholes on it.
Yeah, we saved the assholes for YouTube.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. But until then, thank you, gentlemen, and thank you everyone for listening, and we'll be back when we're back. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to They Must Be Destroyed on Sight. For other episodes, our Apple Podcast, YouTube, and Facebook group links, as well as podcasts and websites of similar interest, please visit us at tmbdos.podbean.com. Thank you. Drive through.